Hi, I'm Jennifer Wood.
And I'm Jennifer Connor.
From Equestrian Businesswomen, and you're listening to Equestrian B2B, the podcast that brings together industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and equestrians for conversations about how they build and sustain a successful business.
On today's show, we speak with Laura Kraut, a U.S. Olympic team gold medalist in show jumping, about her career as a professional rider who contributed most to her success and how it has changed throughout her decades in the industry.
Laura Kraut is a member of the U.S. show jumping team, a seasoned international competitor, and an Olympic champion. Her successful international show jumping career gives her a wealth of knowledge and the ability to coach juniors and amateurs to the highest level of global competition. Kraut utilizes her hands-on experience to identify and develop prospective show jumpers to their full potential.
Kraut's competition resume is significant. She represented the United States at the Olympic Games, winning Team Silver in Tokyo in 2020 and in Paris in 2024, along with a gold medal in Beijing in 2008. Kraut was a member of the gold medal WEG team in Tryon in 2018 and a member of the silver medal WEG team in Aachen in 2006. Kraut's resume also includes numerous World Cup finals and several Nations Cup teams. She is highly ranked on the all-time money-winning list in career earnings with more than 100 Grand Prix wins. She is currently ranked in the top 10 in the world. Kraut's training program primarily focuses on the development of riders by utilizing the coaching and management strategies she has gained throughout her 30-plus years of competing.
Hi, Laura. We're so excited to have you here today, and we really thank you for joining us.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So just to start out, can you talk a little bit about your start in the industry? And, was there anything specific or what was the point that kind of set you on the path to going to the top level?
Gosh, I mean, I think that right from the beginning, I knew I was always going to be involved with horses. I was always going to ride or teach or do whatever it was, anything that had something to do with horses. I groomed, I braided, I drove, I'd do anything. So I think, when I graduated from the juniors and then my sister, Mary Elizabeth, got a job riding professionally as a junior for Roger and Judy Young in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And my mom and dad lived in Camden. And at that time we were in Atlanta. And so my sister was going to move to Camden to work for the Youngs, and I naturally was going to move there. And so I took a job grooming.
Okay.
And I did that for probably 6 months, maybe 9 months. And then at that point, I thought, you know what? I want to do something more than groom. Mm. And so I decided right then and there I was going to, start on my own as a professional. Mm-hmm. And so I started a very small business for about, 4 or 5 months. And then I met Rodney Bross, and he was looking for a rider. And so I went and I rode for him. So I sort of abandoned my own plans, and seemed like the right thing to do. And I did that for, 3 years, maybe 3-4 years. And then at the end of that, that's when I was like, okay, no, I'm going to work for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was probably 23.
Okay.
22, 23.
Yeah. It is kind of amazing in this industry how young people are when they decide they need to start their own business. And because, you're forced into not being a junior anymore. So, if you want to keep this as your livelihood, what do you do if you're not being hired by someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, there's great jobs available, particularly these days. But back then, I think I worked really, you work incredible hours. And when I was grooming, and I remember exactly, I made $132 a week.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And, at that point, you could make a decent amount braiding.
Yeah.
So I thought I could just braid and cash ride a couple of horses. I can make more than this. So anyways, but I think I always felt that I wanted to be my own boss.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the first business lessons that you learned?
Oh, God, it's hard to even imagine. I think probably one of the biggest business lesson that I learned early was, I had such a strong desire to ride. I'd ride anything, literally anything. And, people, they took advantage of that. They'd say, oh, we have a horse, we'll send you. You take it on the cuff, and when you sell it, you can take your expenses out. And well, it was a useless horse.
Right,
yeah. I would put money into it, thinking I could make it better and sell it and get my money out. And I lost thousands doing that, And it took me a long time. I probably still would do it, but no, I think that was probably a valuable lesson. Was really I needed to learn to be more cautious about the horses that I was investing my own money in if I didn't own them.
Right.
Yeah. And did you think of your career as a business at that point when you started? Knew you wanted to be like your own boss?
Well, I mean, yes. I knew I had to be an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
So I started the LLC, I think, when I was 24.
Wow. That's more than a lot of people do, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely, I did everything. I did all my own books. I did all my own billing. I did all, how pitiful. I mean, the funny part was I can't remember what age I was when I finally thought, I think that I would make a lot more money hiring a secretary and paying her a salary than what I'm making because of the things I miss billing.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many years it was until I did that, probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And the time you get back from not having to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
So that was a great first step.
And do you think the lessons that you learned just purely being an equestrian and being around horses translated into being a good business owner?
I mean, yes, for sure. I mean, you learn stuff every day, and you talk to people and you hear their stories, and I think that one of my goals with my in-laws, at that point I was married to Bob Kraut, and his mother and father were very, very successful business people in their own right, and they were really great with advice for me.
Yeah.
So I would say that they were very helpful in that capacity, just steering me in the right direction, making sure I was doing things correctly.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably more so from that point. He had a heavy equipment company, and she had gravel pits.
Oh.
Wow.
And what was really interesting was she was a minority. So she, in Wisconsin, a woman was a minority, and she was very powerful within that industry. So it was really fun and interesting to learn about what they did. And I think that they were very inspirational for me.
And it modeled that business behavior and
Absolutely.
Ways to do things.
And I know that they were, well, of course, my parents, by that point, my father passed away, but my mom was always very, everything is by the book, every rule you follow, but they were the same. And they, I think our industry, unfortunately, has a little bit of a stigma of being maybe not 100% above board. And so I remember Bob's father was Steve. He was very adamant, that I was going to be the one that was going to be 100% above board. And so that was the way it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. About, that's what we want to do is give resources and help people build their businesses so they're like legit businesses and not this, underhanded backdoor kind of way of doing business.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of businesses that are that way, and there's a lot of people other than horse people that are that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're a small world that, it shines a light, so.
Yeah.
And at that point, was it just you, or had you hired people to help you? And
I mean, pretty much it was just myself. Obviously, I had grooms, and the more horses I got, the more grooms I got, and then I got the secretary, and then I want to say it was late 90s or mid-late 90s. I was finally able to afford to hire my sister because she'd been working for Donald Cheska.
okay.
So we were both in Wisconsin, but I couldn't afford to pay her. So she did that. And then when I could, I brought her on board. And so then from that point forward, that's pretty much how my business has been, is between myself and my sister.
Yeah. And what was it like kind of with grooms, especially building and managing a team?
Well, I think, back then it's a lot different than it is now, for sure. I mean, you weren't on the road as much as we are these days. So I think it was a little easier for the grooms. I mean, they weren't worked to death like they are now. And at that stage, I was working alongside them quite a bit. So it was... we had a good relationship. There's been very few grooms in my memory that I ever had sort of a bad finish with. I don't remember that ever happening. I think that, as long as you respect them and they respect you, we're both sort of working towards the same goal, which is the good of the horse.
Right.
So I've really been very fortunate with grooms.
Yeah, that's great. And did your sister kind of take on that role of managing them once she came on board?
Yeah, she's the best manager in the world. And luckily, when we were growing up, she rode and competed, obviously. But she was never really that into it. So when she aged out of her juniors, I think she galloped racehorses for a while. She did all kinds of stuff, and then worked at Donald's. And I remember actually when I was pregnant, so that was 1999, I forced her to show. I made her show some of my horses, and she was just so angry with me. She's like, I don't want to do this. And I think that was the last time she ever showed. So the good point was that that's really all I wanted to do.
Right.
And she wanted to be on the managerial side. So that was great for me.
Yeah.
So she's an encyclopedia of knowledge with everything from transport to medication to you name it.
Yeah.
Ask her.
That's
not
great.
Me.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk a lot about business owners finding it's something that you either don't do well or don't want to do, and finding the right person for that. And it's so cool that it's your sister that can take over that role for you.
I mean, yeah, I have people all the time say, we need a Mary Elizabeth. I'm like, yeah.
She's one of a kind.
She is. I'm sorry, you're not going to find one. But no, and that I can trust her 1,000,000%. And I've also had people that weren't related to me that I've had a similar relationship with through the years, and I'm just very fortunate with that.
Yeah.
What do you think the most important leadership quality is for managing both horses and humans?
Wow. Patience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, to manage the horses is actually fairly easy. I mean, that part of it is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Managing the people is a little less so, because you're just dealing with all the different personalities. And as I said, they get tired. They're, it's a hard job.
Right.
Yeah.
Grooming. And there's no, I always say, unfortunately for them, there's usually no upward trajectory. So there's not like, oh, I'm going to work really hard at this and I'm going to then get promoted to the next. Normally it's just they stay where they are. And for many of them, that's their dream anyways. They want to be around the horses all the time. But yeah, you get personalities. And so I think, you've got to have a lot of patience to deal with the multiple personalities.
Yeah. I have to say, recently there was a position in my company open, and it was managing people, and everybody was kind of surprised when I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. And they're like, why not? I said, I managed a breeding farm, and I have to be honest, the horses that tried to kill themselves every day were easier to manage than the people.
They are much. Horses are great. They're very, very easy.
Yeah. So, is there a secret, though, to making sure your entire team is aligned towards your goals?
I think it's just like we were saying, you get people that are like-minded that, their goal is the horses go well. The the grooms I've had over the last probably 20 years, no, 25, 26 years even, they all wanted to get to the top level of their own profession. So they wanted to be 5-star grooms or 5-star caretakers. So, for them, doing a great job at what they're doing means that hopefully then I can do a great job and it reflects back on them. So I think that's what kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely.
And were there any changes you had to make in your career of going from, maybe showing in the National Grand Prix and making that jump to like the 5-star level within your business?
The only changes really that I've had to make probably in my business would be just the fact that I've started to do, half the year in Europe, half the year here.
Yeah.
And that's complex.
Right.
And particularly as these days are becoming more and more awkward about visas and, that things like that have been difficult.
Yeah.
But we've been very fortunate, again, to have good people who've helped us navigate that. But, not really. I mean, essentially, I'd say it all happened organically. I had National Horses, sort of a small national business out of Wisconsin. And then, I came here, and in the beginning, you were here 6 weeks, and it became 8 weeks, and it became 10 weeks, and and then you just maybe improved your level of client or horse, and it just all sort of rolled into that, and I've been lucky to have it sort of stay there.
Yeah.
But even if tomorrow I had to go back and have National Horses and maybe not travel or whatever, I don't know that it would change my business model.
Yeah, the way you run things as well. Yeah. Was it Simba Run that kind of was that horse that brought you to the next level?
Yeah, I would say definitely. He was the one that I got in 1990. And then I got to be on the Olympic team as the reserve in 92 in Barcelona. And that was my first time ever going to Europe. I'd never even left this country. So I got to see, the very top sport at the Olympic Games. And then we got to stay over. Back then they had the African sleeping sickness. So the horses had to stay for 60 days. And I got to compete at 2 shows, Rotterdam and Pavarotti's horse show in Italy. Oh, wow. So those were 2 outstanding competitions. And that was when I realized, okay, this is what I really want to do. This is it. But it took me probably another 8 years to get back to that.
Wow.
I mean, I came back and thought about it and figured out a way to syndicate horses.
Yeah.
And because, even back then purchasing them was, I didn't have a client that was able to go and buy me a horse ready to roll. So that was how that got going.
Yeah. And speaking of syndicates, is that something that someone told you about, or was it like an idea that was already happening?
Yes, Ann Krasinski was very generous and offering up. I want to say when we were at the show in Modena at Pavarotti's show. Yeah. I feel like we were at one, they had a beautiful exhibitors party there. I'll never forget it. And I think we were sat at the table and she started to tell me about it. And I think she gave me maybe her first copy of a contract that she used. Oh. And then it went from there. I think I didn't syndicate a horse. I didn't get one done until like 1998.
Okay.
But I always had it in my head.
Yeah.
That that's what I wanted to do.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I find syndication so interesting because I worked a lot in the racehorse industry with it. And it's just so different between all different parts of the industry, how it's structured and, how we do it, and stallion syndicates versus like the racing horse side of it. It's cool.
It is. I mean, in racing, it's very complex and huge. I mean, Dan Skelton, Nick's son, he has 300 racehorses at the farm. Wow. And he's got 1,000 owners. There's owners everywhere. Mine, for me, the way I've done it, and I don't know. I can't remember if it was Anne's recommendation or not, but I have found that the best syndicates for me have been with people who are friends, so that it's a fun venture.
Yeah.
Whether it's a horse that we're hoping that will become an Olympic horse, or it's a horse that we're hoping we could turn around and flip and make money, but that all of them are friends together in this adventure, that has made it, I think, very, very successful. I've done a few that weren't that way. Not that they were enemies or what, but it just didn't have the same vibe.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
Interesting.
You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, I do know where you're going with this.
So I own in on a PBR Bucking Bull
Oh,
syndicate.
cool. Yeah. That's really fun.
And it's structured just like that. It's friends.
Yeah.
Like one of our friends
Yep.
started the syndicate. They have no idea about syndicate, though, in PBR. They're like, what?
What is that?
a
Yeah.
syndicate? And so, anyway, we see some opportunity, but it's been so much fun.
Well, that's the thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
I
just
have we call them my ladies, because it's a group of ladies, and they, they come to Aachen and they come to Rome, and they'll pick a few shows out of the year, and they attend, and it's just so much fun. And we have a group text, and it's just everybody really. It's a great way to be a part of it, and in a sport that's so expensive, I think it keeps it somewhat manageable. Which has been great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's what we're finding with this, is that it's just for fun. And we got to go see him in Madison Square Garden and in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and, show up. And then we watch him when, we have watch parties.
On television,
and,
That's so fun.
So,
that would be great. Yeah. When I'm retired, I might do that.
I highly recommend it. I know where I can hook you up with a syndicate.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
It's called MF Buckers.
MF Buckers, I love it.
And our bull is MF Dark Side.
Okay.
So,
all right.
if you ever see PBR,
Nick watches it constantly.
Really?
Unleash the Beast. He's on the Unleash the Beast.
Okay,
tour,
I'll tell him.
That's
He's
hilarious.
watching it all the time.
And while we're kind of talking about syndicates, like partnerships, I know you talked about like it being your friends and stuff like that. Do you think that helps make great partnerships?
Well, I mean, I think that. I'm very fortunate that I really do consider my owners to be friends of mine. It's a very business. Well, let me put it this way: they are wonderful. They let me do exactly what I want to do, and they never question anything.
Yeah.
Because they know that I'm working on their best behalf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unspoken. But if I think a horse should jump, shouldn't jump, should go to a show, shouldn't go to a show, I never have to consult. I basically run the horse as if he's all mine.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what makes it the most successful.
Yeah.
So there is a built-in trust within our group. We are very much friends, but there's a business trust. I think they know I'm not going to take advantage of them in any way.
Yeah.
And so I think then I make decisions, and I don't ever have to second guess or worry that they might be upset or question.
Yeah.
So do you think it's easier to develop your partnerships with humans or with the horses?
Oh, horses.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some very, very good friends, but not as many as fun horses.
Do you buy into the horses too yourself?
Do. Yeah.
So
right from the beginning, I always bought a share. So they felt that I think that they would still have done it if I hadn't. But for me, I felt like they would feel confident knowing that I was willing to put skin in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point in your career where you approached or had burnout?
Yes, but not terrible. But I would say it was a couple years ago, actually, the year of the Paris Olympics. And then I found out later on that it was actually, I had like serious like concussion syndrome, whatever that's called. I forget now. But that whole year, I just was really not feeling it. And yet I knew I had a fantastic horse and a great opportunity to go to an Olympics. So it was a constant battle for me. But then I figured out about this brain trauma thing. And that once I rested a bit and got myself sorted out that way, it helped.
Yeah.
I am getting tired, though. I will say that. It's been I don't know, 50 years now.
Yeah.
How do you balance your passion for horses and like financial realities of running a top level program?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the beginning it was tricky, because you were, what do they say, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
I remember waiting for a check to come so that I could pay something. That was my world for a long time. And now, particularly I have Vivian Garner, who was a very close friend of ours growing up. It was myself, my sister Vivian, and another friend Lori, and we all grew up together in Atlanta. And I ran into Vivian in 2005 at the Washington Horse Show. I hadn't had contact with her since the 80s. Oh. And we were talking like we'd just seen each other yesterday. And I was telling her I had a secretary at that point who was embezzling.
Oh gosh.
And she's like, I think I could do this from where I live. And she's insanely smart. And so I said, okay, let's do this. And literally since she took over, my life has been just unbelievably different. I mean, she's been helpful with everything from investments to savings to, all of it. So between Vivian and my sister, really, that's I consider us the three that have made my LLC be solvent.
Yeah.
And so I'm very fortunate now that I don't have to think about, I shouldn't eat that dinner because it's expensive. I can actually exist and not eat soup every night.
I'd like to get to that point.
Yeah. I know. It's been nice, I have to say.
Bulls and ponies, they're my addiction.
Yeah.
If you were starting your career today, would you approach it any differently?
I wouldn't approach it differently, but I'm afraid that the industry has changed, so I don't know that I'd be able to approach it the same.
Right.
I think I've talked about this recently on another podcast where, I did a lot of catch riding, which was very profitable. Mm-hmm. You have no outgoing expenses, just you carry your saddle around and you get paid. So there's just not that much availability with that anymore. I think that it's just the times have changed. Horses are very, very expensive now. Showing is very, very expensive, and
and the liability of putting somebody on your horse.
It's different now. But if I were able to, I wouldn't change anything from the way I did it.
It's interesting, as I come from a standardbred background, and in that sport, they went from people being owners and drivers and trainers of their own horses to now we have a whole group of catch drivers, and they just and drive the horses for people. Wow. And it's a lot less of like trainers, being involved. So
that'd be like a jockey, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And being one of the top riders in the world, how do you approach sponsorships from companies who want to give you product or money? And
I have someone now who handles that for me.
That's nice.
That's actually I was not very good with that.
It's really complicated.
It is. It's very complicated, and there's a lot to it. I mean, it's the same as anything. They think they're doing a lot for you, and you think they're doing a lot for them. And if it's not spelled out exactly what each obligation is, somebody ends up unhappy. So I am very fortunate to have somebody who handles that for me now, and it's been great. She's done a fantastic job. I've got some really nice sponsors, and I think that hopefully they're happy. I'm happy. So, yeah, it's good.
Is that like an agent?
Yeah.
And is she specifically for equestrian, or does she do other?
Yeah, she is. Okay. She's from Europe, so she's not from here. She was a friend, and I think she's been around a lot, and she just thought, I think I was maybe her second person do with.
Yeah.
Now she's got a nice stable of riders.
Yeah.
And I think she's doing very well.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
I didn't even think of that as a job.
Yeah,
Right.
well, years ago it wouldn't have been.
Right.
In 2000, there was a woman, I can't think of her name, but she wanted to do it. She was from New York. She was very bright, and she was really motivated, and I mean, there was no way.
We just weren't at that point
No.
yet
Yeah.
in the industry.
Sometimes you have an idea and it's too early for the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
When you made the decision to spend your time in Europe and part-time in the U.S., how long did it take until you were like, oh, this is working really well and this is how I want to keep it?
I think, the first year I went over was in 2000. I went for like a month or 6 weeks, I think, with Katie Prudhomme.
Oh.
And that was sort of the first time that I got submerged in that environment over there. And it was great. And so, again, I think it took me 2 or 3, 4 more years to set it up where I could go back and do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And, pretty much then, I would say by 2005, I had made up my mind that this was going to be a thing.
And you could go on your own.
And I could go on my own, and I mean, now we navigate around there almost easier than we do here. I mean, we've got all the ideas of what to do, and it's just I really enjoy the sport over there. It's it's sort of a different feel. It's more of a sport and less of a business, which I think is healthy.
Yeah. Was it a conscious decision to turn to training younger riders, or did it happen naturally?
I've always trained. I mean,
Yeah.
because I feel like over here, that's your only way forward. You don't get very many owners like I have now, like with Barbru and Margaret Dupre, who are just supporting me with horses. But I mean, it took till I was 50 to get them,
Right.
or 45. So, teaching is a large part of how you can sustain yourself. And going back to, if I had 2 students who were paying me, I could take one of those horses on
Right.
the cuff and lose money. and that it's the way I see to make the business work.
Yeah. Did Vivian ever set you up with like a retirement plan?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
That's great.
She's amazing. No, I literally, she has higher goals for me than I do financially. Anyways, she's great.
Yeah. I feel like that is people don't talk about it enough for professionals in the industry, maybe because a lot of people are kind of going paycheck to paycheck or, have a lot of debt. And it's, talking about having a Roth IRA or something simple like that, it's just not, people don't plan for it. And then, you get to the end of, not even the end of your career can be cut short so easily.
Yeah.
And then, what do you do after that?
Yeah, no, she's definitely would never have allowed that to happen. And she's great. And I know there's several other riders that I know that also have that same situation. I mean, I think, we're very fortunate, but I think it was another thing was I didn't ever want to have a lot of debt. I've never, I also don't own a farm here because I didn't want to take on debt. So I probably wasted a lot of money through the years in renting, but when I'm done renting, I walk away and I don't have, I don't have debt.
Yeah.
So I think today's world is very different. I mean, even with Nick's son Dan, he takes on massive amounts of debt and it drives us crazy. But and he makes it work. He's making it work. At my age, I'm very thankful that I don't have a lot of debt.
Right. So at the end of each episode, we ask the same 4 questions to each guest, and Connor starts with the first.
What is your unfair advantage over others?
I don't know that I have one. Unfair advantage over others.
Mary Elizabeth.
Yes, that's a great answer. That's an absolutely perfect answer. Yes, Mary Elizabeth and Vivian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is worth something giving up, and what is worth fighting for?
Oh my gosh, these are hard questions. Giving up and fighting for. I would give up publicity. Fight. What's worth fighting for is your reputation.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do credit the Krauts for making sure that I always ran things the way that they should be run, and I feel very proud that I feel like I've conducted myself well in business. So
Yeah.
What's the last thing that made you laugh really hard?
daily I'm laughing hard. I don't even know. I mean, Nick makes me laugh. He's really funny. Horses make me laugh. There's a lot of things that make me laugh. I couldn't pinpoint one thing. We're very lucky. We have fun people around us.
Okay.
And what's the last thing that took your breath away?
Their first week in the Grand Prix here. No,
Literally?
Literally. I was gasping for air when I came out. Probably the round with Biscetta this winter. Or maybe Dublin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just that mare is really special to me now. I started with her when she was 7, and now she's turned into sort of a superstar, and she's just really she's just very special. And Dublin, I'll say, although California was fun, when she went in and jumped the only clear in that big event. I mean, it was, and I went to turn down the last line, and I think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps down the last line.
Wow.
As I was heading down there, I thought, just do not get in her way, because I knew there was no way she was going to make a mistake. So it was only going to be on me. But yeah, she's just breathtaking.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time again.
Yeah,
It
Thank
was really
you
nice
guys.
talking to you.
It was fun
Yeah.
in this studio.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It was so great to have Laura in here and be able to talk to her in person. I know we have been trying to get her on the podcast for like 2 years, maybe, and just things haven't worked out and the timing wasn't good. And I'm really glad we made the trip down here and we're able to talk to her in person.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her. She does have great answers, and before the podcast started, she said she would be quick, and she was.
Yeah.
But I do think that we had some great questions for her that maybe she hasn't had to answer before on the podcast about the business aspect of what she does.
Not just her riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, more behind the scenes. And I love learning that about these top riders and how they build a program that sustains success for that long.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been at the very top level for 30 years, and it's just so impressive to see and to know, like, she is like a successful business owner because she has surrounded herself with the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what we talk about all the time for business owners. And she just, proves the point once again.
Yeah, and it's also great to know that she came from like humble beginnings, in that she can recognize that she was, paycheck to paycheck when she first started to make it work. And, she would teach a lesson to be able to take on a horse that might be an investment or might not.
Right.
But, she definitely came up the scrappy way.
For sure.
And so it's great to see that somebody like that even got as far as she's gotten and maintained being at the top level like she has.
Right. And, I loved how she talked about her in-laws at the time really impressing upon her of being a good and honest business person.
Right.
Which is really cool, because I think sometimes people don't have those role models or anyone telling them you need to do things the right way and it'll pay you back for your entire career.
Yeah. Yeah. That she had them to kind of tell her, no, do it the right way.
Yeah. Don't cut corners, like stay honest, treat people well, and look what can happen.
Yeah, she's at the top. So yeah, that was really great, and I loved talking about the syndicate part of it because I know that's something that I'd love to do like a whole separate topic on, because there's so many different ways to do that. But interesting that Anne was the one who helped her out with that, and you know, I think that it's great that her friends are involved in that.
Yes.
And those are her partners in it.
That was cool to hear that it wasn't purely a business relationship for her.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about finding investors and not having that feeling of people who really support you and support your decisions no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a better, I think, for riders of her talent and capability to be able to take on horses and say, I'm going to put them in my program and I'm going to do whatever's best for them no matter what you say, right?
Yeah.
Because I think so many riders get themselves in a situation with owners, and the owners want to have say on what happens with the horse and where it shows and how much it shows and whether, you know, maybe it's a little iffy, but the owner wants it to go tonight. Like, people get, you know, I think themselves in situations that they don't want to be in. So I love that, you know, she does it with friends who give her full reign, so to speak, on what to do with the horses.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I go back to thinking about Casey Coleman when we had her on.
Yeah.
And you know what? She had the same kind of program where she owned in on the horses.
Yes.
And she made the decisions. And that's, her owners put the trust in her. And look at how successful she was in what she does. I think that that is a key to success that many people don't realize, that, you know, if you are good to your horses and you're putting them first and you can, you know, have the trust of your owners to do what needs to be done, that you're going to come out on top and get to that top level.
And sustain it.
Yeah.
I think lots of people can get a great horse and be successful no matter what.
Yeah.
And it takes a special type of person to do that with probably hundreds of horses she's had by now. And, you know, be able to be ranked top in the world, be winning the top Grand Prix in the world, be representing the United States on every team. I mean, she does so many Nations Cups on teams, and it's remarkable. So I loved hearing more about that from her.
Yeah, it was just good conversation about business and friendships. And, you know, I appreciate her saying that building relationships with horses is easier than humans.
Well, they're a little simpler, I think.
But yeah, that was a great time. And I just enjoy doing it in person too.
Me too.
So you can find the links to today's guests and our show notes at www.eqbusinesswomen.com.
And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Equestrian Businesswomen and at EQ Businesswomen. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review on our podcast. This one is on anywhere you find your podcast, but also will be on YouTube. So find us there and subscribe, and hope you enjoy listening and watching.
Bye.